Look at any World Cup 2026 match. Every player, every team, every substitute, they're all wearing the same color on their feet, pink. It's not one brand doing this. Nike, Adidas, Puma, New Balance and Skechers all launched pink boots for this tournament. Independently, you'd assume they coordinated. They didn't. Each company's entire strategy depends on standing out from the others, not blending in. Within days of the first matches, clips of the boots were already trending across social media, with fans joking that 2026 looked less like a World Cup and more like a single sponsor's campaign. Some players leaned into the moment, posting close-ups of their new boots online, while others tried to downplay it, insisting the color choice had nothing to do with them personally. So how did 5 competing brands accidentally agree on the exact same color? The answer starts over a century ago. Football boots were black by default for decades. Cowhide leather naturally dyed dark, and nobody questioned it. Early versions from the late 1800s weren't even sport-specific. You could wear them to a bar. That changed in 1920s Germany, where brothers Adolf and Rudolf Dassler ran a shoe company together. You know them today as Adidas and Puma. They pioneered screw-in studs, letting players swap traction depending on field conditions. This single idea would decide a World Cup. In the 1954 final, West Germany faced Hungary, a team that had already beaten them 8-3 in group play. Rain turned the pitch to mud. Adolf Dassler reportedly entered the locker room at halftime and switched his players into longer studs. West Germany won 3-2. Historians call it the Miracle of Bern. Nobody was thinking about marketing yet, only performance. Fast forward to 1970. English player Alan Ball, a 1966 World Cup winner, signed with a lesser-known brand called Hummel. Hummel paid him roughly $4,800 at the time to debut a new boot in a high-profile match. The twist, it wasn't black, it was white. Nobody had dared design a football boot that color before. The attention was immediate and massive. Sales reportedly jumped from 5,000 pairs a year to 12,000 in a single week. Ball's own biography was later titled The Man in the White Boots. The boots themselves were poor quality. Ball eventually refused to wear them, forcing the brand to paint his real Adidas boots white instead. As sponsorships grew more valuable, a new problem emerged. A player's boot deal and their national team's kit deal often came from rival companies. Cristiano Ronaldo wears Nike boots, but Portugal's kit is sponsored by Puma. That tension isn't new. At the 1974 World Cup, Johan Cruyff had a personal deal with Puma while the Dutch team wore Adidas. He refused the standard jersey. His compromise became legendary. 2 stripes instead of 3. The shirt is yours, but the head is mine, he reportedly said. Even after Ball's white boots, bright or metallic colors remained nearly impossible. Leather is porous, it absorbs liquid and resists vivid dyes. Dyeing it any lighter shade usually cracked the surface within a few matches, which is part of why black stayed the safe default choice for so long. Nike entered football in 1994 with all black boots, the last World Cup where almost every player wore the same shade. 2 years later, Nike signed a 10-year, $200 million deal with the Brazilian national team, built around a rising star, Ronaldo. For the 1998 World Cup, Nike needed something dramatic. They developed a synthetic leather substitute called KNG10, free of leather's natural limits. The result? Ronaldo's silver Mercurial boots. Every teammate wore black except him and the goalkeeper. He stood out instantly. Adidas answered with the Predator, worn by Zinedine Zidane, who lifted the trophy that year. Round 1 arguably went to Germany. By 2002 and 2006, boot colors had diversified sharply. Black had become the exception, not the rule, across nearly every national team. By 2006, brands faced a new issue. Too many colors per team made it hard to tell which players belonged to which sponsor. In 2010, brands introduced the pack concept. Every sponsored player wearing visually matching boots without wearing identical models. At that World Cup, Spain's Puyol, Iniesta, Piqué, Busquets and Pedro all wore matching Nike boots. Fans could instantly spot the Nike roster. Adidas followed with its own packs. The Battle Pack in 2014, Energy Mode in 2018, Al Rila linked designs in 2022. For years, the strategy worked because brands stayed visually distinct from each other. One went bright orange, another stayed white or copper. That distinction collapsed in 2026. Adidas launched the Glory Pack. Nike launched the Breakout Pack. Puma, New Balance, and Skechers followed with their own. Every single one leans heavily on pink. 5 competitors, one color, no coordination between them, at least none that's publicly confirmed. Critics argue this level of coordination, even if unintentional, shows just how few companies actually control what elite athletes are allowed to wear. The first driver is visibility. No color contrasts against green grass better than pink, especially in a tournament where no team's kit uses that shade. Every broadcast clip, every close-up, every highlight reel will feature that color prominently on players' feet, whether viewers notice it consciously or not. Broadcasters have even noted that pink boots read clearly on camera from further away than white or silver ones ever did. The second driver is cultural acceptance. Pink used to read as risky for a men's sport. That perception has shifted significantly. A Nike product director told The Athletic that wearing a color as bold as pink now signals confidence rather than risk for elite athletes. The third driver is trend forecasting. Brands consult shared consumer trend agencies. WGSN, one of the largest, predicted electric fuchsia as a dominant 2026 color back in 2024. Boot design takes over 2 years from concept to release. Once a brand commits, reversing course becomes nearly impossible, even mid-development. That timeline explains why 5 separate companies could land on the same shade without ever comparing notes directly. It also raises a quieter question for fans. If 5 competitors can end up making the same design choice without talking to each other, how much real competition is actually happening in sportswear at all? Ironically, the smartest move in 2030 might be the opposite, going back to black, the one color every brand has now abandoned. Standing out, after all, has always meant doing what nobody else is doing, not doing what everyone else already committed to. The next time a boot color takes over a tournament, you'll already know it wasn't an accident. It was 5 separate bets on the exact same forecast.